Good day, welcome. My name is Alister Albert, and I'd like to welcome you to the Baseline to Baseline podcast/show, which is going to be like content delivered every other week where we speak about basketball. And anyone who knows basketball really well knows the baseline is the end of the basketball court. So we're going baseline to baseline, end to end, talking about everything related to NBA basketball. So in this first episode, we have a really close friend of mine called Jahn Sifflet, who's all the way from Saint Lucia. So thanks, Jahn, for tuning in all the way from Saint Lucia, and who's going to discuss.
No problem.
All right, excellent, cool. So the first question I like to ask you, of course, we know the word that's going to be coming up over the next couple of weeks in the NBA is asterisk. You know, everyone's talking about the championship, coming up, and
I know.
Exactly. So what do you think about this, and the person who's going to be crowned, the team who's going to be crowned the champions this year? What do you think about them having an asterisk next to their title? Is it diminished, or what do you think about that?
All right. Well, my thing is, asterisks or not, 10 years down the line, everybody's just going to remember that team won the championship.
On the ring.
Yeah, we're still going to, as fans, we're always going to debate the asterisk season, just like the season when the Spurs beat the Knicks. We still put an asterisk, but it doesn't change in the history books. What does it say? The Spurs were the champions. The Knicks still haven't got that ring. So I think that's one of the things. As much as it's an asterisk for fans, for the players, it's not going to be, when we look at it in the history books, it's not going to be. For LeBron, it's not going to be, because he's not going to claim it any less than anybody else. So, we know how that goes. Actually, I've been listening to some of the guys, and there was an interview, I think, Giannis, this week, where he was saying, yeah, it may be an asterisk, but it's actually probably going to be one of the more difficult championships that anybody's ever won. So I think it can go both ways on this one.
Definitely, and it's the bottom line. And like you said, 10 years down the line, when we're looking at the history book, someone is going to be crowned a champion. And like for LeBron, like we mentioned, he's going to have a ring next to his name. So if he did win it, but I know a lot of people don't want that, but we'll see how it goes. So I just
if we're gonna get into that question, I don't think they're gonna win though.
That's a whole other show, so we'll come back to that. Don't worry. All right. So the next question I'd like to ask you then is, which team do you think is like the best suited for this run right now? We have, of course, a major disruption with the coronavirus, and which team do you think was best suited and built to deal with this disruption and actually win this year?
I think the two teams I think that are built for this in terms of looking at the personnel and the discipline of that personnel and the focus, I'd say the Clippers and the Lakers.
Right.
The Clippers, one, they have the depth. Okay. They haven't, from what we've heard so far, they haven't lost anybody. The last person was Lou Williams, who there was a bit of a question mark whether or not he would play, but Doc came out last week or this week and said, nah, Lou's in. And the Clippers' depth, they just added Joakim Noah.
Yep.
They're built for anything like this. And the fact that they've had a couple months layoff to get healthy. Yep. Paul George, who was just getting into the swing of things before the season went down, he's had some more time to get some more rest, get back healthy. You have Kawhi, who no longer has to take games off.
True.
So when they do start back, I think their chemistry is going to be better because they're going to have a straight run of games. You don't need to rest Kawhi.
True.
He's only going to be playing basically playoff games. So you're going to get that chemistry building with Kawhi, PG, Trez, Lou. I think that team is built for this kind of run. Definitely. The Lakers, why I said the Lakers as well, was that LeBron's probably the most disciplined athlete we've ever seen on a basketball court and off the basketball court as well. And if you notice, I guess I'm on Instagram all the time. So every time you see LeBron, he's either in the gym working out or he's on the basketball court shooting hoops, practicing. And so I think his discipline will extend to that team. And that's why I said the Lakers, because I think he's mentally prepared. Right. A lot of teams may not be as prepared. Like, I don't know what the situation is with the Rockets, but with Cephalosha going out, I've seen Westbrook working out.
Yeah, all their role players kind of dropping off. Yeah.
The role players kind of dropping off. So I think the Clippers, and I'll also probably go on the side of the East and say maybe the Miami Heat and the Bucks. And that's just because of culture. The Miami Heat culture is win or nothing at all. And Pat Riley's not going to have these guys messing around. Jimmy Butler, he's one of those type of athletes that they maintain focus because all they want to do is win. So I think these 4 teams, I'd say, would be best prime. And also looking at their depth, Miami before everything went down, they got Crowder. I mean, there's Jimmy. They got a few other players at the trade deadline that I think make that team. Iguodala. So I think that's the team that has the depth for this kind of tournament feel, because in a tournament you don't have many days off and you need guys to be able to bounce back and get into the swing of things quite quickly.
Exactly.
I think the only thing Miami was missing was some chemistry, but now that you have time to work on it, that chemistry should be there for that run. Milwaukee, because
it will be a pressure-packed system, because now everyone is in Orlando and they need to kind of really get together really quickly, because at the end of the month, everyone needs to be on the same page and play. But no one has an excuse right now on saying they're not rested, they're injured or anything. Everyone's now kind of starting almost fresh. So it's going to be really interesting to see how people just really get into it and the chemistry, like you say, how it's actually developed. Cool. I'll move on to the next question really quickly. Who do you think then will be the MVP of this year? It's going to be, like you say, is it going to be another asterisk at MVP, or is it someone who's outright the favorite to win it, whether there was a disruption or not?
That's a good question, because your MVP is normally based on your regular season. We haven't had a full regular season.
True.
So it's going to be a bit difficult. Like, I think the front runners before coronavirus kicked in and everything got shut down was probably Giannis, as well as, I mean, some person said LeBron, but maybe that's my personal bias. He wasn't the best. I mean, I can't say he wasn't the best player on that team, but if you look at AD's stats on that team, AD had better stats than LeBron.
He did. Yeah.
So do you take AD out of the race just because LeBron's on that team? I don't know. So I think for the MVP, it's probably gonna, as much as they say the playoffs don't really affect the MVP because it's a regular season MVP, I think we're gonna have to look at what happens during the playoffs to determine that MVP.
I agree. That makes sense. So yeah, that's a really comprehensive roundup of what you think that would be. And Jahn, like I said, this is a really short interview, so I really appreciate what you've done here for me right now and giving us this little feedback on these 3 questions. But like I said, if this becomes something really good and positive and put it out and people like it, might probably develop it and get some more guests in and talk about different things. So I'd like to thank you today for being on this first episode, and maybe catch you on the next episode of Baseline to Baseline.
No problem. You didn't even let me give you my upset pick for the playoffs. This is something we have to debate.
Next time. Don't worry.
I have to give you my upset pick. It's coming. So you probably know it already because that's all right. I'll save that for the next show.
Next time. Don't worry. Cool.